The remix tool allows you to remix any track to any length without having to go through and match rhythms and cut on beat, which can be a pain in the ass and you can spend a lot of time doing this. But luckily, Premiere came out with a pretty cool tool called the remix tool. Now, usually, in order to trim a track down to match your edit, you could do a couple of things. You could drop your track in, put a cut where the end of your video lies, and throw a cross dissolve and be done. But this gets rid of the natural ending of the song, and that never feels right. And so the second way we editors figured out how to trim music to match our edits is to identify every beat of the music track. Then we cut on these beats and connect these parts together with cross dissolves. And this works very, very well, but it takes a lot of time. And in 2022, Premiere came out with a tool called the Remix tool. With this tool, you can automatically change the duration of a music track to match the duration of your edit while keeping the rhythm and the pacing of the song. To do this, we head over here to the toolbar and click and hold the Ripple Edit tool. By doing this, we reveal the Remix tool. When you select the Remix tool, we can trim any music track to any length. All you have to do is select the end of your clip and drag it to the length you want. Premiere automatically scans, stitches, and cuts the song down to your desired length, keeping the rhythm and pacing of the song as best it can. And its best is pretty good. When it does this, you'll notice that Premiere makes artificial cuts in the music track. And that's what these squiggly stitches are. And so this tool will literally save you hours of stitching parts of a song together. And the quality at which it does this is absolutely unbelievable. And so now I don't want to just give you my word, but I actually want to put it to the test. So right now we're going to examine the differences between a track that I personally trimmed down myself versus a track that was trimmed down by Adobe's AI. So let's take a listen. And this track is Premiere's Remix tool. So both are very smooth, but mine took me an hour. Premiere's took me a second. And obviously the AI decided to use different parts of the same song, which I personally had a creative reason not to, but regardless of creative decision, in terms of quality of execution and time saved, freaking incredible. It's absolutely insane. The competence of the Remix tool is great. And honestly, I would argue that Premiere's Remix tool is a little more competent than I am. And so with that said, this is seriously a phenomenal tool to use. The only downside is how do you control what parts of the song you want to remix and connect and stitch together? But one of the ways Premieres allow you to control that is inside of the Essential Sounds panel. Inside here, you're going to see some parameters that you can adjust that are going to affect the output of the remix. So let's check them out. First thing we have are the methods, and there's two methods. There's a remix method and a stretch method. Remix is what we're going to use 99% of the time. The stretch method is literally just speeding up or slowing down the song. But what we want to mess with is the remix. Now, inside the remix method, we have target duration and remix duration. Target duration is what you want your remix to be. You're basically telling Premiere to do its best to remix to this length. And remix duration is what Premiere actually remixed it to. So for example, if I tell Premiere to make my target duration what I want it to be, the length of my edit, which is roughly 40 seconds, Premiere is going to do its best to remix this song to that 40-second mark. In this case, it remixed it to the 44-second mark. So that's Premiere doing its best to remix it to your 40 seconds. Under this, you can customize the segments and the variation. Segments is how many cuts you would actually like Premiere to make. So how many of those squiggly lines do you want it to have? It's going to mix in more parts of the song, while fewer cuts is going to mix in less parts of the song. I personally like going with fewer because that's going to give Premiere's AI less chances to fuck up. So in my opinion, fewer segments equals a smoother remix. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second. The variation parameter adjusts how much the software changes the original song when creating the new remix. If the variation parameter is set to a low value, the new remix will sound more similar to the original song with less changes made by the software. If the variation parameter is set to a high value, the new remix will sound a lot different from the original song with more changes made by the software. And when it makes more changes, it selects different elements of the song and mixes those elements in there. Think of it like a knob. When you turn this knob, you tell Premiere to remix this a lot. And if you turn it down, you tell it to remix it a little. And so this is what it sounds like when I do very few segments with few variations. Pretty similar, right? Now, here's a lot of segments with a lot of variations. And so with a lot of segments and a lot of variations, it starts to get a lot crazier and the flow and the smoothness kind of goes away. But those are the extremes of the remix tool. So feel free to play around with it yourself. But as far as what this tool is actually capable of doing is freaking astonishing. It takes editors hours to do what this tool can do in seconds. Absolutely unbelievable. And I genuinely believe that you should always start with the remix tool when doing a personal mix. I feel like adding the remix tool into your workflow that way is going to not only save you time, but actually give you more creative room, believe it or not. You'll actually be able to test new ideas immediately with this tool. So you're gonna be able to save a ton of time finding a better mix. I personally give this tool a 10 out of 10, and I really hope you take full advantage of it. But that does it for this episode. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.